So the short story is Coach Odom is the head coach of the Utah State Aggies basketball team. He has never, ever lost a game as head coach of the Utah State Aggies. So he is undefeated. So that's the short story. The long story is, if you remember, who knows about University of Maryland, Baltimore County? Does that ring a bell? Okay. If you were going for Virginia a few years ago, you would remember, because that was the 16th ranked team that beat Virginia. And that was his team. So if your bracket was busted, right there, which is funny because you grew up as a Virginia fan. Yeah, so that's. I'm sure your dad really liked that experience, because I think your dad was a coach at Virginia. Yeah. So we've got two generations of coaching here. Coach Odom, this is his third time as head coach. He has won Coach of the Year awards in both in his conference and on a national level. When he came to Utah State, Shalon and I basically had a little party in our room because we loved our old coach, but we're very, very excited about our new coach. And we think that he is dynamic, and he will talk to us today about building a team. And so we're so excited to have Coach Odom with us and to end this session. And then we'll join you all, grab your shirts on the way out, and we'll have the tailgate. Coach Odom.
Well, I can't tell you how excited I am to be here with you today. This is a special opportunity for me. And I'm thankful for Brock Miller. Do you know Brock? Anybody in here know Brock?
He's in my class right now.
There we go. You can't teach here or coach here or be a true Aggie if you don't know Brock Miller. And Brock's obviously one of my senior players. And literally, like, I take the job on, call it August 6th. And on August 8th, he comes up to me and says, hey, would you do me a favor? I'd love for you to speak at the Huntsman in the Intermountain Growth Summit. And I said, for you, buddy, absolutely I will. And he and Dr. Keller reached out right away, and really thrilled, to be here with you. And Brock's an amazing guy. My first meeting when I first took the job, one of the things that I do is sit down with every player, regardless, scholarship, walk-on, makes no difference, and just spend time. And so he was one of the first ones to go, and he comes in the office, and I've never had this happen I've coached now 20-plus years. So I graduated from college in 1996 with an econ degree from Hampton-Sydney College, small liberal arts college, still the only all-male non-military college in the United States. Really small, historic school. And Brock walks in, and he's got a great personality, as those who know him know. And he walks in, and he's got a little note card. And he hands me the note card. He said, I hope you don't mind me handing you the note card. I'm really excited that you're here. This is a big opportunity, for all of us. We love the Aggies. We're fired up for the season. We're fired up that you're going to be our coach. And I just wanted to give you this card. And on the card, he had all of his goals. Goals for his academic and personal life. And on the other side, he had his basketball goals. And things and it wasn't just, I want to make this many threes. It wasn't an individual thing. It was the right side was all about team. I want to win another conference championship. We've had success here. I want to, I want to make it to the NCAA tournament and play in the big dance. I want to advance in the big dance. And so it just told me a lot about him as an individual. And that was a great introduction for me to Utah State, because the more I got to talk to him, talking to Justin Bean, Stephen Ashworth, guys that love this school, it told me a ton about Utah State and really confirmed my decision to come here in a lot of ways, because you have a great university. There are great people here. There are people they just really care about making this place the best that it can possibly be. And so, I think honestly they didn't care who the coach was going to be. They were going to stay here because they believe so much in this place. And a lot of that is due to some of you, obviously, that teach here and others that are impactful in our community. Is it up here? It is up here. Building a team. Cool. I want to talk to you a little bit about my upbringing first and foremost. This is my family. And so the reason it says family business, Russell mentioned it a second ago. That's my father, all right there, Dave Odom. And so my father was born into a family. His father was a car dealer in Goldsboro, North Carolina. And, my father always played sports growing up. He played every sport. All right, he played baseball, he played basketball, he played football. Obviously, back in the 60s, he was born back then. And always played at the boys' club. And so he had great coaches. His mom was a nurse and, worked all crazy hours. Father was a car dealer, so they're working all the time. And it was just he and his sister, his younger sister. And so he looked after his sister and just fell in love with sports. And so he would go to school and did really well in school, but as soon as the day was over, and then he would run and go play, whatever sport was in season at that particular time. And so he just had a passion for it and was willing to do the hard things it took to keep going with that. But his dad had other plans. His dad, he worked every summer in the car dealership, and the obvious plan was, hey, once we get to a point where I'm ready to retire, you're going to know everything about the business, and you're going to be the guy that's going to take it over. And so he thought, that's probably what will end up happening. And then the more he got into it, he ended up going to Guilford College, which is another small school, and his coach was probably about 3 or 4 years older than him at the time, Jerry Steele, the guy that played in the NBA years ago. And they developed this amazing bond. My father was his point guard. My father was the quarterback of the football team, and he played baseball. So he played 3 sports in college, which is kind of crazy. He's not that good of an athlete, but he did do that. And so anyway, when it came time for him to decide, all right, what he wanted to do with his life, the obvious choice was, I'm going to go work for my father, and then work my way into running this family business. And it wasn't in his heart. And you've always heard folks talk about chasing your passion. And sometimes it might not be, apparent to others. It might not be what others want you to do. And so clearly his father was not happy, when he had to sit down in the living room and tell him that I don't want to work in your business. In fact, I want to go be a high school coach and pretty much make no money at that point. He's probably making $6,000 a year or whatever he was making, who knows. And he was coaching at his high school where he graduated from, at Goldsboro High School, and that's where he got his start. And so he coached there for a few years. His father finally, and I'm guessing that his mom probably had a little bit to do with Dad coming around, as is typical in most families. Why don't you ease up on the boy and let him go chase it? And let's see what happens. And so he moves on from there, and he goes to Durham High School. He gets the job at Durham High School in Durham, North Carolina, which everybody in here probably knows. That's where Duke University is. And the coach at the time at Duke, when my father took the job there in 1973, was a guy named Chuck Daly. And Chuck Daly was on the staff. Chuck was the coach of the Detroit Pistons. He was the coach of the first U.S. Olympic Dream Team years later with Michael Jordan and all those great players, Charles Barkley and all those guys, Magic, that played on those teams, that finally got our gold medals back. And so my father would go over and watch practice. Hubie Brown, who was a legendary coach in the NBA, was also an assistant on the staff there. And so it was a who's who on that staff at Duke. And so my father, very similar to like Green Canyon, the coaches coming over to Utah State and just spending time and getting to know one another. He did that at Duke. And that's where I was born. I was born in 1974 while he was the high school coach at Durham High School. And so he ends up meeting these guys and going to practices and really learning a ton from them. And then they set him up with a coach that runs a camp up north in New York called 5-Star Basketball Camp. And you won't know what that is because it doesn't exist like it used to be. But back in the day, in the 80s and 70s, all of the best players in the country would go to this one camp in the summers. And so my father went up there and worked, and he was the first Southern guy from North Carolina to take all the local kids around the community that were basketball players up north to play in this camp. And so in this camp, the workers were guys like Rick Pitino, who you know is a famous college coach, John Calipari, who's now the coach at Kentucky. All of these types of guys, Mike Fratello, who's a famous NBA coach, all these guys worked the camp together in the summer. So my father would spend basically a month every summer up there working camps and meeting folks. And so that led him, all right, to Wake Forest University. The coach there at the time was Carl Tacey. And Carl heard about Dave Odom. You know, Dave was a local high school coach at Durham, and he had access, and he'd heard great things about him, and so he hired him to come work at Wake Forest University. And kind of the rest is history from there. My father went on from there, became a head coach at East Carolina University, left there, became an assistant actually at the University of Virginia, ironically. And that's kind of where I fell in love with basketball as a youngster. I was a ball boy for the team at UVA and was surrounded by so many high-level people during that time. Coach Terry Holland was the coach, and they had battles with North Carolina. They were number one in the country. They played Georgetown with John Thompson and Patrick Ewing. They called it the game of the decade. And we just had all these amazing experiences. And you know, he went on from there and went reunited with Wake Forest, and they offered him the job at Wake. And we went back to Wake Forest, and he was the head coach at Wake and had some great years there, 12 amazing seasons at Wake Forest, and coached some great players. Tim Duncan, one of them, from the San Antonio Spurs. He coached him all 4 years and left there and went to South Carolina. He was the head coach of South Carolina to finish up his career. So 40-plus years in coaching. And I was kind of the opposite of him, quite honestly. In college, you know, I always thought, you know, I loved basketball, and I loved to play basketball. I felt like I was a player. And I never really thought about coaching. I just wanted to play. And so I ended up, you know, played in high school, played in college at Hampton-Sydney, had a fun career there, made great friends, had an amazing coach at Hampton-Sydney College. And I was an econ major, and I'd always said, I think I want to go into the financial world. I want to go to Wall Street. I want to do that. All right, that's what I want to do. So we didn't have a business major at Hampton-Sydney, and so I decided to go with econ and the closest thing, and then the plan was, you know, go to, you know, get a master's, you know, after and get an MBA. And then I get to my senior year, and you know, like most, I decided to do an internship in the summer. And I went to Wells Fargo. I worked for my godfather, who worked on the trading floor. It was actually Bank of America back then. And you know, I'll never forget, you know, going in that trading floor, and it was intense. You know, there's a lot of folks in there, these little cubicles, and they're making phone calls, and there's a lot of action going on, which I thought I would enjoy. But at the same time, I felt like, all right, I'm not ready to give this thing up yet. All right, basketball. And my brother who's over there on the other side, Lane, is about 6 or 7 years older than me. He had started coaching and was coaching at Alabama at the time. And they had some great teams back then. My father was kind of at the height of his career at Wake Forest, where they'd won back-to-back ACC championships. And I graduated from Hampton-Sydney, and I decided to give coaching a try. And I always knew that I could go back to the other if I wanted to. And obviously, you know what happened. The rest is history. I'm kind of standing right in front of you 20-plus years later, all right, because this is my passion. I found my passion in basketball. And it's not coaching the game, all right? Yeah, I love that part. I love the competitive aspects of coaching. I love it when the ball's tipped up and the crowd's in there and like you have to make these quick decisions, to either help your team, or obviously you want to help your team, but sometimes you don't. You make wrong decisions in the heat of the moment. Emotions are high, and so you have these stressful moments. I'm at my worst when I'm stressed, all right? And I think most of us are. I make poor decisions, all right, at that time. And so I really, when I'm coaching, I try to, you're not going to see me running, hooting and hollering on the sideline. That's just not when I'm at my best. So part of being a great coach, or great at anything that you choose to do, is knowing yourself, all right, and what you respond well to, all right, what's going to get you out of your game. And so, that's kind of how I coach. But my brother is still in basketball. He's a scout now for the Utah Jazz. He's been a scout for them for, probably about 6 or 7 years. He worked for Quinn Snyder, the head coach at Missouri, years ago when Quinn was in college. My mom's in the middle. That's my brother's daughter there, Atkins. She goes to Chapel Hill. And then the most important one in the picture there is my wife, Lucia, right there at the bottom. She's the one that has chosen me and, chosen to go on this amazing journey, that we started years ago. I actually asked her to marry me on one of these mountains here in Utah. I can't remember. That's a story for a different time. There was a storm that came in. It was supposed to be at the top of Snowbird, but the storm came in, so we couldn't get to the top at the last second, and so I had to make alternate plans in order to ask her to marry me. So we still, I think it's kind of a cool thing that we don't really know where it is. Actually, we have the picture, but we don't know where it was. But so this is the family, and obviously these are my 2 boys right here. Connor is a freshman here at Utah State, so some of you that are professors hopefully will have him and tell me if he's not doing right. Feel free to send me an email. But he's on the team as well. He's a walk-on for our team and really will help us in practice, get ready for the games. He's a sweet kid. I'll talk a little bit more about him in the process of this presentation. Owen is probably the easiest person in the world, to deal with as a kid. I mean, he's a blessing. He's a freshman at Green Canyon, and he's just, when I say easy, I mean, I really mean that. Like, he walks into a room and, he just has a way about him where he's never intimidated. He's very kind to people, and he's a smart kid. So I'm really proud of who he's becoming. But that's my family, and that's kind of the backstory to the Odoms. Sorry, that took a little bit longer than I was hoping. Defining moments. I think we've all had at some point, a moment that maybe not you will define yourself by, but others might define you by. So I'll go ahead and play this. Which one do I hit to play that? The next button. The same thing? Okay.
Turned upside down. Amazing. The superlatives, you can't come up with enough. Absolute. Incredible performance. Shocked it all. In college basketball, UMBC makes history in Charlotte.
You guys made history tonight. Never before has a 16 beat a 1. And you did it in dominating fashion. How did you get it done today?
We just believed in each other, man. That's what we came with, the mindset, believing in each other and competing, and that's what we did. We got the W.
And for you, as soon as you guys won, you went over to your coach and you said, I told you so, I told you so.
Yeah, it was a little reminder of what I told him against Vermont, the same thing. We believe in each other. Coach Stat did a good job on the scout, and we did it. It's a dream come true.
Ooh, that always gets me. So that is the end, all right, of that particular story. And I think, the purpose of this conversation with you guys, or this presentation with you guys, is what did it take to make that happen? And I think, how does that translate to business? When you first go into a venture, right, and you take over a business, the business might be like Utah State is right now. Craig Smith had 3 amazing years here. All right, he was an amazing coach. Their staff did an awesome job. All right, so the tradition here, obviously even past Coach Smith, going way back to Stu Morrill, who I've really thoroughly enjoyed getting to know. He was back 2 weeks ago, sitting in my office. We spent half a day together. Where's your business at the particular time when you take it over? Is it up? And then it's your responsibility to take it even higher? Is it down in the dumps? All right, is there no hope? All right, is it a company that you have to completely flip and turn around? And so I think being able to evaluate that pretty quickly when you first take over is really important. This is the 3rd time I've done this as a head coach. I've done it as an assistant and been part of staffs many times, going into a new program and evaluating kind of why have they had success here, why have they really struggled, all right, and not had the success that they wanted to enjoy. So I think is really important. And one of the ways that you do that and is establishing a winning culture. And so I'll take you back to UMBC. When I took over UMBC, our staff took over UMBC, they had 7 straight 20-loss seasons. So again, I showed you the end, the culmination of a lot of hard work, all right, that these kids and our staff put in, all right. But when I first walked into that locker room, there was a sense of, we're just supposed to lose. We're not used to winning. We don't know what it's like to win. I walked in the locker room. There was nothing in the locker room. Like literally, there was a picture of a player over his locker, all right, but there was no verbiage in there saying this is who we are, all right. There was no vision of like this is where we want to go. This is who we want to be. And sometimes that's a visual thing, right? You have to show them. And, coaching is a very unique thing. And so when I first walked in there, I was like, okay, we have our work cut out for us here. All right, but it's also there. You got to figure out what are the positives, all right, that exist here. All right, because there's negative. You can always find the negative. If you keep looking for the negative, you're going to find it, and you're going to find more. What are the positives? UMBC, I'll give you the positives. They were building a brand new arena. You're in a major metropolitan area, all right, D.C., Baltimore. All right, you're close to Philadelphia. You're close to New York, a drive away. You can go south into Virginia. There's all kinds of players, all right, and great students. High academics, UMBC, you may not know it, but very, very high academic school. My president, who now is my mentor, is one of my main mentors, just announced when I told him I was taking the Utah State job, he said, I'm going to tell you, I haven't told anybody else except for my wife, but I'm retiring at the end of the year. He's built UMBC. 28, 30 years now. He's been there 30 years. Started out as provost. He's been the president for 28. Amazing man. African American man, was in jail at 12 years old with Dr. King. He grew up, born and raised in Alabama. His parents were teachers. He was born in the 60s. Just an amazing story, against all odds. Goes to Hampton University at about 15 years old. Finishes second in his class to his wife. And he'll be a mentor forever. That was a hard day when I had to tell him I was leaving to come out here. Just a great man. And so when I first took over UMBC, my goal was, all right, I hate it when coaches take over and they say, we want to change the culture. We want to change it, all right? Because what does that insinuate? It's really bad culture. They had a bad culture there. I'm not trying to knock the previous coach. There were reasons that they didn't win before. All right? My whole goal is I'm not worried about the past. We want to establish a winning culture. And so that was my message to the team right away. All right, I'm going to do things differently than your previous coach. I'm going to do some things the same as your previous coach. All right, the reality is we want to establish a winning culture here. All right, and how are we going to go about doing that? We've got to show you the way. That's our job as coaches. All right, to show you the way. All right, to establish a winning culture. How do you define culture? I think that's one of the first things that you've got to really define. If you want to have success down the line. This is how we define it. And it was probably 2 or 3 years ago where I came up with this. It's behaviors that you tolerate and the behaviors that you celebrate. And it's really, really important, within our program. If you think about it, there's a million things, all right, that can derail a company that you could name from a behavior standpoint. Same thing within a basketball program. All right, there are things that will erode your culture. All right, will send you down a negative path. Being a bad teammate. All right, not sharing the ball. These are things on the court. Not being on time. Not giving your best. All right, you can keep going. And so if you begin to tolerate, all right, if your group begins to tolerate things that we all know will lead you down the incorrect path, will lead you to losing, or you can't tolerate those, all right, as a group. And it's not just the coach, it's not just the CEO, it's not just the person that's in charge. Everyone within the organization has to believe in it. And you have to be able to hold one another accountable. All right, to that standard. All right, the ending of this is really important. All right, the behaviors that you celebrate. All right, if you, tolerate things that lead to losing, that will become your culture. It will be a negative culture. Conversely, if you celebrate things that lead to winning, all right, that lead to success, all right, over and over again, I really appreciate you coming in on a Saturday extra, all right, to get this project ready. All right, making sure that person understands that that they went outside of their way to get the job done for our company. Celebrating things that will lead to success, all right, is really, really important. All right, so this is the main part of how we operate, at not only UMBC, at Lenore-Ryan previously, and now at Utah State. All right, so we're trying to establish, a winning culture. Here at Utah State, they've established a winning culture. So it's a little bit different than when I went to UMBC. All right, what's the next step here at Utah State? While understanding it's not a guarantee that the success will continue. All right, we have to be understanding of that. All right, but how are we going to get it to the next? The margins are very small. All right, they're very small. How are we going to get it to that next step of maybe advancing in the NCAA tournament, not just making it? All right, having a deep run in the tournament. All right, yeah, those are goals of ours, and we can't shy away from what those goals are. And I'm going to read this to you. All right, and we'll come back to culture here in a second. But my father gave me this. It was actually right after we beat Virginia, and my life changed completely. I'll never forget. We beat Virginia, and then all of a sudden we go back in the locker room, and it's like I finish up with the team. In the NCAA tournament, just so you understand, there were 16 plays one every year, and so since they had expanded to 64. 16 seeds were 0 and 135. So there have been 135 games over the course of many, many years, right? Because there's only 4 a year. 0 and 135. And so at the end of the game, I walked in and wrote on the board 1 and 135. And you guys are the 1. And then I went down and I wrote 0-0. And one of our things every day, I said it to our team yesterday, is Our goal is not to win this many games, right? Our goal every single day is to go 1-0. That's it. Because every game brings a different challenge. Every practice brings a different challenge, no different than you. You go into work every day, there's a different challenge coming at you. And sometimes you don't know it's coming. And you're going to have to adjust and you're going to have to figure it out. But if you have a goal of being present in that moment and going 1-0 in that instance, all right, chances for success are much, much better. So my father gave me this. Does anybody know what that is right there? And feel free to ask any questions during this. Interrupt me. I'm fine with, I want it to be interactive. I'll try not to go too long here, but if you have any questions, feel free to stop me. All right, but this is a V formation. So when the geese fly south, all right, they fly in a V formation together. And scientists obviously have studied, all right, how the geese move around and what happens. So I guarantee you go out of here later on today, you'll look up and you'll see it at some point. All right, but I'm going to read this to you because what can we learn, all right, from geese? And this was not mine. All right, this was completely stolen. My father gave it to me, and he got it from somebody else. But I think we can learn from this. There's 71% more flying range in a V formation than flying alone. As each bird flaps its wings, it creates an uplift for others behind them. What's the lesson? People who share a common direction and sense of community can get where they are going quicker and easier because they are traveling on the thrust of one another. Whenever a goose flies out of formation, it suddenly feels the drag and resistance of trying to go it alone, and quickly gets back into formation to take advantage of the lifting power of the bird immediately in front. What's the lesson? It's harder to do something alone than together. Whenever we put our hands in for a huddle, all right, doesn't matter when it is, beginning of the game, timeout, makes no difference. End of practice, beginning of practice, we say one word, and it's together every time. What's that important word for your company? I think we've all worked with someone, or we've had a classmate, all right, that has tried to go it alone. Usually those kinds of decisions within a group, all right, don't end well. All right, obviously the geese, this is just part of what their DNA is, right? They're not thinking, oh, I'm going over here. I got a better route over here. I'm going to take this one. All right, they feel it and they know right away. What do? They get right back in line. And I think that's a really important lesson, for us. When the lead goose gets tired, it rotates back into formation and another goose flies point. What's the lesson? Leadership is best shared. We can excel if we stay in formation with those headed where we want to go, accepting their help and giving ours. True leadership means interdependence. The geese in formation honk from behind to encourage those up front to keep up their speed. What's the lesson? We need to make sure we are honking words of encouragement to one another. Encouragement is powerful. Groups where it is practiced are far more productive. All right, that goes back to, all right, we want to celebrate the things that lead to winning and making sure that we verbalize those things. Great job. All right, we appreciate you going that extra mile. All right, because then you're going to get that response. That makes that person feel good. They're going to want to do that again. And then they're going to do what? Pass it on to somebody else, which is really, really important. We want a positive work environment. It doesn't mean we're not going to hold you accountable when you're doing something wrong. We're going to pull you back in. All right, but at the same time, all right, people need to hear you did a good job. Keep it up. When a goose gets sick or wounded or falls, 2 geese fall out of formation and follow it down to help and protect it. They stay until it revives or dies. Then they catch up and join another flock. What's the lesson? Stand by your colleagues in difficult times as well as in good. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. All right, you're going to have challenges within your company, no different than I'm going to have in my basketball program. And sometimes they're going to surprise you. And how you respond to those challenges is everything. All right, is everything. As leaders, we must move ahead with a positive outlook. We must unite and work together. We must forget about the obstacles in every opportunity and learn to see that there are opportunities in every obstacle. Together, we can make a difference. So, how do we do it within our program? All right, how can we learn? All right, I read that every year to my team. All right, since my father gave it to me, because I think it matches. All right, for us. All right, this is our core value. These are our core values. The Aggie way. At Lenore-Ryan, it was the Bear way. At UMBC, it was the Retriever way. And things evolve over time. You know, when I was first at Lenore-Ryan, I had 5 core values. When I got to UMBC, I added one, it's my 6th. And so we're going to go through, all right, the 6 core values within our program. This is how we keep one another, all right? This is how the UMBC thing happened. Sure, we had to make shots, all right? We had to make the right moves. Players had to do, all right, certain things for us to win in that particular game. But overall, all right, this is who we are. And so this is what gives us a chance to have success. And so I never want a player to come through my program and say, this guy didn't teach me a thing. Nothing worse than that. We go through this. I can tell you how these core values came to fruition, the genesis of these core values. I've worked for other coaches, all great coaches. And obviously I've got my father, who coached a number of years. And I've worked for some where we had core values. We had a mission. We had goals. All right. But if you ask the players on a given day, unannounced, all right, what's core value number 3? They would be like, oh, they didn't know them. So shame on us as coaches. So I've been a part of that, all right, in other programs. And so I said, if I'm ever lucky enough, all right, to become a head coach at some point, we're going to have core values. We're going to know them, all right, and we're going to put them into action, all right, without a doubt. And the cool thing for you as you watch this and you listen here, like, just because these are important to me doesn't mean they need to be important to you. You pick your own words. What's important to you? As long as you're emphasizing them on a daily basis, then you're going to get something out of it. And so I'd always said, if I get the chance, we're going to make sure this is going to be who we are. And so started it at Lenore-Ryan, continued it at UMBC. I always deliver it at the beginning of the year. There's one kind of initial introduction to each word, and then we break down each word. And so we'll have individual meetings on each word. And so they're usually 35 to 45 minutes. My former president is set in on some of these meetings. All right, and they're really impactful. And our guys engage in this stuff. I mean, it's really, really fun. So, first word, accountability. All right, there's no successful organization that exists without this. All right, you have to make sure, you have to hold one another accountable. One of the things that, I've always heard, in our profession is a player-led team is much better than a coach-led team. Obviously, the coach has to lead. The coach is the face of the program. The coach is in charge. The coach is making all the decisions. All right, but if I'm making the decisions and I'm giving the instructions and trying to hold them accountable, and then all of a sudden they're bucking that, right? Are we going to get where we want to go? No, not a chance. And so making sure that our guys understand when all of a sudden the players can hold the players accountable. Nope, that's not how we do it. When Brock Miller can say to a freshman, hey, here's how we do that. And how he actually projects that to the freshman is really important. If he barks at him, all right, if he says it in a way that's derogatory, well, that's not going to be helpful either, because then all of a sudden, there's a little bit of pushback. All right, so accountability, all right, is a major factor. All right, and there's certain things. This is one of the biggest core values that we have, because little things can erode. You may think they're little, but then all of a sudden it's a slippery slope. All right, they become big. Showing up late. You're supposed to be there at 8 a.m. All of a sudden it's 8:05. You're walking into the meeting. There's nothing worse than making somebody wait on you. All right, their time is valuable too. All right, so coming in engaged, not being engaged, being disrespectful. There's all kinds of things that, as coaches, we have to deal with throughout the course of a season in a year. All right, that without accountability, all right, you're not going to get the desired result. So this is the definition. We will hold each other to the highest standard so that we all can succeed. All right, really important. And your standards continue to move, right? Maybe your goals are here, and then all of a sudden you push through those goals. Well, we got to make some new goals. All right, your standards, but we can't go below our standards. We want to keep pushing that limit. All right, really important for us. Very important to protect that standard. All right, what are your standards, and are you protecting them, all right, within your organization? Next one, unity. All right, again, no successful organization that's not together. All right, making sure there's not, there's obviously a leading scorer on a team. There's a salesman that sells the most in that particular year, but is that person more important, all right, than someone else? Not in a team setting, it's not. We have to make sure that everybody has value and they're appreciated, and that doesn't mean that they're going to get interviewed after the game. Of course not. My son, who I showed you up here, he's not getting interviewed after any game. Not going to happen. They're going to interview Justin Bean. They're going to interview Brock. They're going to interview the guys that are playing in the game. That doesn't mean he's not important. He helps us in practice, helps us get ready for the games. All right, you think about major sports in the NBA. LeBron James, he's interviewed after every game, rightfully so, good or bad. Sometimes he messes up. He's got to answer the bell. He's got to be accountable. He's got to answer questions after a tough loss. Part of being accountable. All right, but unity is huge. We will not always agree, but we will remain as one. All right, there's going to be decisions that are made, all right, within your corporation, within your business, that others are not going to like. Just the way it is. All right, it's no different in coaching. All right, who I sub in, who I sub out. We have a very deep team this year. We have 13. That's one of the things that I'm more worried about than anything. We have a lot of good players. We may not have Nemi, all right. We may not have Sam Merrill right now, but we have a lot of good players. And so then all of a sudden, how we handle who's playing, who's not playing, could determine how far we go. So this is important. Hammering this home is huge for our team. You may not like what you get, all right, but we're always going to remain one, and we're always focused on that goal, because otherwise, if you start doing something that's not good for our team, then it's my responsibility to what? Hold you accountable and pull you back in. All of this that I'm showing you right now, the Aggie way, is our roadmap for success. It makes it very easy for me to pull guys back in when they get offline. Very easy. Nope, we agreed to this. This is who we are. We're going to be together. We're not going to do it the other way, because we know what the other way gets us. It's a behavior that's going to lead to losses. So we've got to make sure that we're doing things that lead to winning. You acting like that is not helping you, certainly, but it's not helping us either, because it's a distraction. How connected is your group? You have to work at that, right? That's not an easy thing. You don't want to be a company that just comes in, you come to work, all right, you do your job, you don't talk to anybody, then you go home. That's no fun. You want to be connected, all right? You want to learn about one another. I want to share in, Brock and his wife, they announced they were pregnant. We had fun with that. Go back and Google it. At one of our core value meetings, he announced to the team that he and his wife were pregnant. He was so excited. I want to share in those experiences. I went to Stephen Ashworth's wedding. All right. Loved every second of it. Got to meet his entire family. Got to see why Stephen is who he is. I want to share in life, because it's not just 4 years. It's not just 3 years with one another. This is a long-term relationship. And so let's make the most of it. How does that translate to your company or whatever it is you do in your walk of life? I'm not sure, but I know human interaction is an important piece to it. Do they really want to work for you? Really important. This is a tough one. Passion, what I was talking about earlier with my father. Passion certainly is love. You have to love what you do. We've all been taught that in life. Chase what you love. It'll work out. We've all heard that. But we go deeper with it. Passion's about suffering. I'll go ahead and put that up there. We will embrace every challenge in pursuit of our goal. I'm going to go ahead and show you this.
You have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it and you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough. And the ones that didn't love it quit because they're sane, right? Who would want to put up with this stuff if you don't love it? So it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of worrying constantly. And if you don't love it, you're going to fail.
Tell me who this is. Thousands of death threats, 32 murder attempts, 29 arrests, 1 house bombing, numerous threats from FBI, countless attacks to his cause. Who do you think that is? Anybody? It's Dr. King. You think he had passion for his cause? Think about that. I watched a documentary the other day about the FBI trailing him. Incredible. Incredible stuff. Thousands of death threats. 32 murder attempts. Obviously, we know how it ended, right? 29 arrests. And we're not dealing with that. Ours is a lot different than that. But adversity's coming. You're going to have adversity within your own organization. I'm going to have it within my team. How you handle those moments is everything. How you handle winning, how you handle success is everything. How you handle defeat is everything. One of our other core values covers that pretty well, but passion is about suffering. It's about suffering. If you really love it, you'll fight through. You'll persevere. You'll figure out a way to make it happen. It may not be the way that you started out with and you had in your mind, because there's a lot of different ways to go. There's a lot of different paths that you can take to get that result that you want. All right, but one thing that it's going to take is passion. All right, because if you don't love it, you will quit quickly. And so we make sure when we go out and we recruit players, all right, we recruit students, all right, because they're not just coming here to play basketball. They're coming here to excel in the classroom as well. And we want to make sure that they're passionate about earning their degree and being the best basketball player that they can be and maxing them out as people, being the best person that they can be. That's what we talk about in recruiting, those 3 things. We are going to do our best to max you out as a person. You're coming in as an 18-year-old. You're probably not ready for life. All right, your parents are handing you off to us. They're handing the baton to us. It is our job. It is our responsibility to help you grow. Certainly, it's my responsibility as your coach to help you become the best basketball player that you can be. We're going to work with you. We're going to share in your successes. We're going to help you when you're not as confident as you need to be. And then the last thing is we're going to push you in the classroom. We're not going to settle, all right, for mediocrity. We're going to make sure that you understand, all right, that you have more to give. Passion. It's a huge thing. How does your leadership impact how people feel about what they are doing and where they are working? Do you make them want to come to work? Is it a negative environment? Is it a positive environment? Are you celebrating when they do things really well? What type of work environment do you have? Humility is huge. I'll go ahead and put it. I will not think less of myself. I will think of myself less. We're all born, right, with an ego. Think about when you're a baby. What do you, mine, I want this. In a team setting, that doesn't work. If it's all about you, you have to make the sale. All right, you have to score the basket. You have to be the guy that wins the game. Not a great recipe. Not a great life lesson, right? But at the same time, there's going to be times where you're not as confident as you need to be. So it's my job as your coach to build you back up. We can't have you thinking less of yourself. Maybe the project that your boss gave you, you just didn't do a good job on it. You tried and you thought you might have had it right, but then when you got it, there's red ink all over it. Like my first college paper. We all had them. It's okay. Get back to work. You can do better. All right, but we don't need you thinking less of yourself. You can do this. All right, UMBC would have never beaten Virginia, all right, had we not really dove into this. Because they did not believe in themselves when I first walked in that locker room. There was no hope. We were expecting to lose. How do you change that mentality? You have to build them up. I don't know where you're taking over your company. Where is your company when you're taking it over? That's up to you to evaluate and figure it out. All right, but at the same time, how do you handle success? I talked to my team here at Utah State about it's not a given. We're just going to make the dance, fellas. It's not a given. We have to earn the right with our work every day to make it to the dance. They're not handing those out. We have to earn the right. And so we can't have a big head either. We beat San Diego State on a Saturday on CBS, and then we're all excited, and everybody's telling us what? Hey, you guys are the best. Well, Nevada's on Wednesday. So we've got to what? Turn the page. Turn the page. Move on to the next one. All right? There were things in that San Diego State game that we didn't do well. All right? Look at them. It's right here on film. There were some things in San Diego State. Obviously, we did great. Look at this. Look at yourself, Bean. You ran the court. You beat your guy down there. You got a dunk. We want to show that to them. All right? We want to highlight the things that they do really well, but not ignore the things, all right, that we know are going to eventually get us beat. And then now we can move on and focus on Nevada. Do you empower people to exercise humility in the office? Servanthood. That's a huge thing for us. I don't want to be a program that is just all about us and what we're doing, and we're just insanely focused on us. I want to be leaders in the community. I want my guys to be leaders on campus. I want my guys to give. What does it look like to serve? We talk to our guys about that. We will strive to serve one another first. All right? And then we take it outside of our own team. If you're always, naturally, we're conditioned to think about how things impact us individually. What happens when you walk into the workplace and you're not thinking about you? Now, this is really weird to talk about, right? It's not easy to do. You walk into the workplace and I'm thinking about the person beside me. How can I impact that person today? How can I make them feel good about what they're doing? Then all of a sudden what happens? What will that person do? Make the next person feel good. It just spreads. All right, it spreads. And so that's the type of environment that we want to create. All right, what's one of the things that we're doing right now within our program? We're partnering with the snack organization on campus that feeds, all right, that any student, or probably, I'm not even sure if residents of Logan can use it, but I know students can use it. They go into this food bank and they can get groceries, for whatever they need. And so our guys are going in there. We have 4 guys per week that will go in there for an hour with the snack program and prepare meals. Every week. What does it mean to serve? What's your company doing? Are you just doing it for a profit? All right, are you really trying to impact people, in a positive way? Obviously, you have to make a profit, all right? But within that profit, what can you do, all right, in terms of goodwill, all right, to really impact your community? Because you only live here once. We have one chance at this. I tell my team that all the time. We have one chance. This season, this is the only time that we're going to be together. That's why it's so sad when you lose that last game. That's why there are tears in the locker room, especially if you have a really good team. Because for certain guys in there, it's the last time they'll ever put on a uniform. That's a tough thing. And so let's make the most of the time that we have together, and let's not make it about us. Let's make it about others. Are you willing to serve? I think that's a good point right there, right? Are you really willing to serve when it's inconvenient? I think obviously that's something that we want to try to do. And the last one, it's not a right to have your name in our locker room. It's not a right for Ryan Odom to be the head coach at Utah State. It's a responsibility. It's a blessing. And so we're constantly reminding our guys about the opportunity that they have been given, because there's 1 million kids, all right, that would die to have the opportunity to be on the Utah State basketball team or any Division I basketball team. If you went out and saw all of the AAU tournaments that my coaches and I go out and watch, and the amount of kids that are playing this game, incredible. Incredible amounts. And they love it. They're passionate about it. But it comes to an end. And the lucky few get to continue on. There are only about 350 plus jobs in Division I that are head coaches. So I'm one of 350 some coaches in Division I. Think about that. Not many. Not many. It's a blessing. It's a responsibility. I feel a responsibility here, probably more than I've felt anywhere else, because of the tradition at Utah State, because of the former coaches that have coached here, because of the players, all right, that have worn, the Aggie uniform that this place means so much to. It's a responsibility. I have to be thankful for what I'm doing. That's going to make me work harder. All right, really important. We have to understand it's a privilege, all right, to represent Utah State. Are you able to be thankful? Are you able to find joy in things, right, even when things aren't going well? We've all had days like that. We've all had seasons like that. A family member gets sick. I just had one of my assistant coaches, all right, who played for me at Lenore-Ryan. I've got 2 players that played for me that came out here, both at Lenore-Ryan, that are working for me now. One's a GA, one's the Director of Player Development. We're in practice 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 now, and all of a sudden I look around and Billy's gone. Where's Billy? And then after the practice, the other assistants tell me his father's sick. His father's 48 years old. Goes into the hospital, never comes out. Billy rushed down to Salt Lake, flew home, thankfully got to see his father just in time. 48 years old, dies, obviously had COVID, and then didn't recover. All right, so thankfulness is really important. We have a basketball family. Like, he's getting text messages from our guys, right away. And then now we're part of the healing process for him. He's back now. And so every day he wakes up in the morning, normally he's calling his father, right, back in Tennessee. Well, he can't call his father anymore. He's not there. So I told the team while he was gone, I said, when he comes back, be as normal as you can. Be with him. Get his mind off of it. Play a shooting game with him. Talk to him. You don't have to ask him about it. You know how he's doing, right? And so our job is to, all right, that's what families do. Get his mind off of it. And so we have to be thankful, all right, even in those tough moments. Can you find the joy in things? And there's no better lesson than that in death, right? That's a hard thing. All right, it's hard to deal with that. All of a sudden, someone's gone. Not easy. So that's the group. I know we're at the tail end here, but those are my guys. You can see Sam's in the middle, but that's an example of we do have a great tradition here. Sam's played pickup with the guys. He's come back, and been around them. He's gone out and played golf with them. It really is a true family, that we have. I'm really proud of to be here at Utah State. Really proud of these guys and what they're about to embark on, hopefully for this season. The biggest thing I'm excited about is the game tonight. I can't wait. How about you guys? Yeah, it's going to be fun. So I'll take any questions. I know I went probably a little bit longer than I needed to, but if anybody has any questions, feel free, to ask. If you want any of this, certainly David can probably get it to you. But yeah, you can do it outside too. Yeah, come up and visit with me for sure. I could stay around a little bit. Yeah.